The Louisiana Highway Safety Commission's main mission is to drive down the number of fatal crashes and serious injuries in Louisiana. We do that through outreach, education, and enforcement. The Commission works with law enforcement agencies, state police, sheriffs, and city policemen through grants to try to increase enforcement hours to drive down those rates. This year, we're announcing the largest ever Louisiana enforcement effort dedicated to seatbelts. The effort's part of a very successful national campaign coordinated by the National Highway Traffic Safety Association. The campaign, which runs from May 21st to June 3rd, is called Click It or Ticket. This year's Click It or Ticket campaign will include 127 law enforcement agencies. This is the largest number of agencies ever in Louisiana for this campaign. And those agencies have all agreed to increase their seatbelt enforcement efforts. Many, but not all of them, are receiving grants from the Commission to pay for their overtime. The Click It or Ticket campaign includes the Memorial Day holiday, during which last year 15 people were killed during that holiday, which is the highest holiday fatal numbers that we've had. The increase in law enforcement agencies participating in Click It or Ticket this year will directly impact the number of citations issued. During last year's campaign, officers issued over 13,000 citations. During the year last year, there were over 71,000 citations issued. Louisiana law requires that all adult occupants in motor vehicle wear seat belts. Children must be secured in age-appropriate child safety seats. And I'm pleased that our Louisiana compliance rate for seat belt has increased to almost 78% in 2011, but we're still far below the 2010 national average of 84%. Voluntary compliance is our goal. Nothing would please me more than report back that 100% of the people in Louisiana were wearing their seatbelts and no tickets were issued. The 22% of the population that does not wear their seatbelts are very hard to reach and to convince. Fortunately, most Louisiana motorists realize the importance of wearing seatbelts and comply with the law. Seatbelt use in Louisiana is everybody's business. Statisticians at LSU tell us that people involved in crashes in Louisiana that weren't wearing their seatbelts cost Louisiana citizens over $989 million last year. And part of that cost is borne by all of us, taxpayers and motorists alike, in the way of medical care, police investigations, and providing services for dependent breadwinners who are lost to their families. The message we'd like the media to help us deliver today is, please wear your seatbelts. Not only is it the law, but it's the right thing to do for your safety.
It really is an honor and a pleasure to be here in Louisiana today for doing a first statewide, or I guess a statewide Click It or Ticket enforcement, one that has been done in a very long time, reaching 127 different law enforcement agencies. This is the type of activity that has shown so much success across the country in getting our belt rate use up and getting more people safe home every single motor vehicle trip. I often talk around the country about the promise of motor vehicles and new safety technologies, even to the point of maybe having cars avoid crashes in the first place. All these exotic things are wonderful, but the one thing that I know and every safety expert knows for a fact is this: the best piece of motor vehicle safety equipment is already in your car. It's a seat belt. Of the 22,000 motor vehicle occupants that lost their lives in 2010, half of them were not wearing their seat belt. Half of them. Seat belts have saved thousands upon thousands of lives every single year. And it's something that, frankly, is the most seamless, quiet, and unobtrusive way to travel in your car. So we work very hard with law enforcement agencies, like all these fine gentlemen right here in Louisiana. A lot of grant money that we issue from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration as part of the Click It or Ticket program to make sure that we are getting police officers out there on the road to give out these tickets. We don't want to give out tickets for the sake of giving out tickets. We want to make sure that people are wearing their belts, because you never know when that accident or that crash could happen. You just don't. And the best way you could do to be prepared for it is to be wearing your belt. And the thing I'll talk about too, there's certain groups of people that we found in our research that don't wear their belts so often. Young men, 18 to 34, are frankly our biggest trouble spots. So you young men out there, this isn't a cool thing or a risk thing, it's about saving your life. Another thing that we've noticed as well is that people don't wear their seatbelt as much as night as they do in the daytime. You need to click it day and night, every single trip. We work very hard at National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Department of Transportation as a whole to be in support of the leadership like Colonel Edmondson and Colonel LeBlanc and Assistant Secretary Turner here, who works on the public health side of things, but it is a team. Because this really is not only just a traffic and transportation issue, it's a public health issue. And there is no greater tragedy than we see what happens after a crash. And anything that we can do to make sure people get home safely, let's make sure we do it. But the first and easiest thing we can do, click it or ticket every single trip. Colonel, thank you so much for the time. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Today is not just about public safety, it is about public health. We have a saying in the health department in all of our new programs, it's called Own Your Own Health. And the Click It or Ticket initiative fits right into the slogan, and most of our healthcare reforms actually going on are all about getting Louisiana residents more involved in the decisions they're making about their healthcare. And so living healthy means a lot of things, but it's taking responsibility for your health and doing things that are good for you, like healthy eating and exercising. But it goes way beyond that, which is the reason why we're here today. People need to make smart decisions about buckling up, and that simply can't be overlooked from a healthcare perspective. Safety belt use can save your life and prevent long-term disability. Making sure that your passengers, yourself, children especially, are properly secured is very important. So buckling up cuts in half your risk of dying or being seriously injured in a traffic crash. And as we are here today to explain, most drivers are killed because in a crash because they're not restrained. As you heard earlier, Louisiana each year on average 63% of people killed in traffic crashes are not wearing safety belts. According to NHTSA, people involved in motor vehicle crashes are 4 times more likely to die. But also that are unrestrained, and also they're also 14 times more likely to have spinal injuries, which cause the medical costs associated with that recovery are much higher. This impacts the individual, their loved ones, and at the end of the day, it impacts us as taxpayers because we have to end up shouldering the costs of those injuries. So owning your own health by buckling up from a public health system perspective means cutting costs and saving everyone money and saving lives. Being safe costs nothing, but not being safe can cost everyone something, and that varies depending on who you are. In 1 year alone, crash deaths and injuries in drivers and passengers cost the country $70 billion in medical lost work costs. As the administrator mentioned earlier, researchers at LSU actually found that in Louisiana, it costs us $998 million in medical and lost work costs. But bottom line, owning your health in your car or while riding with others could mean the difference between life and death. It's not a casual choice. Safety on the roadways never is. So living healthy isn't just about choosing an apple over French fries or choosing to go running as opposed to spending more time on the TV. It's about making smart decisions as well. So please, everyone, buckle up. Thank you very much.
Administrator Strickland, thank you very much for your presence here today. It certainly speaks volumes of what we're trying to accomplish in Louisiana. Your presence here and your continued presence tells us we're doing the right thing. As I stand up here, certainly as a superintendent of state police, but representative of these men and women that are standing behind me, it should tell the public one thing. Partnerships are the most important thing to us. That's about what's getting the job done. Because I say this all the time, but look around. It's not about the color of our uniform. It's not about the shape of our badge. It's about doing the right thing. When you listen to Administrator Strickland talk about it, they don't come here and say, how many tickets are you writing? Write more tickets, write more tickets. They want to see the results. That's what these people want to see. They want to see the results. 2 crashes that come to mind over my 34-year career with the Louisiana State Police. One, we went to tell, I was a grandfather, that his daughter, his wife, and his granddaughter were killed in an automobile crash. They weren't wearing their seatbelts. 3 generations of a family were killed in one crash for that. And to be able to tell that gentleman that at one time your wife has died, a few minutes later come back to him to tell him that his daughter and then his granddaughter. And then to have seen those pictures, to see the look on his face, to know that seatbelts could have saved a life there. Another crash, went to a home at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking up the driveway. You can see through the window, there's the mother looking at a clock. It was 10 minutes to 5. And I was walking in to tell them that their 21-year-old daughter was killed driving back to Baton Rouge from Lafayette one night, wasn't wearing her seatbelt. And as I'm sitting there telling them, I look upstairs, I can see a sister, I can see a brother, and her father, the wife's husband, walking from another bedroom. To deliver news, something like that, when you can remember the vivid pictures at the crash scene, you look at the car and be able to tell them that someone had died. These men and women standing behind me, they've seen these crashes. They've gone to the scene of a wreck, to the scene of a fatality. To look at a car, and it's in pretty good shape, and you go, wow, how is someone killed? And you see there wasn't a use of seatbelts. That's what we're here today about. It's never about getting out there and how many tickets can we write. It's not about that. It's the proactive side of our job that we just try to tell people, please just buckle your seatbelts. It'll secure you in your car. You know, you got a screaming kid. I've had 4 growing up. Sometimes you just have to pull over and deal with them. But they've got to stay in their car seats. They've got to stay in those seatbelts. You've got to make sure that everybody in that car is buckled up. We're doing things right in Louisiana. There's no doubt about it. We've seen our crash fatalities. We've seen our alcohol-related, those things are decreasing. And we're seeing our seatbelts at those same time, more and more people wear them. One death is too many. And when you go to the scene of a crash and you see that use of seatbelt would have just made a difference, that's when an officer grieves. That's when an officer sits back and thinks, this could have saved a human life. We're going to talk till we're blue in our face. And yes, we are going to ticket. There's no doubt about it. We've warned enough. We spent years of warning people about simply wearing their seatbelts. But we're going to keep talking about it, and 127 agencies are going to work during this time period. And if you're not wearing your seatbelts, we're going to give you a ticket. You ought to thank us for that. Because by buckling that seatbelt, we've saved a human life. We've saved somebody from getting hurt. That's what this campaign is about. And it's a commitment these agencies and agencies across the state of Louisiana and the Louisiana State Police makes to the citizen of Louisiana. We're going to do everything we can to make our highways safe. We're going to do everything we can to make sure people that get in those vehicles and they drive do so in a safe manner. It's very simple. Buckle your seatbelt. Make sure everybody in your car is buckled up also. Administrator Strickland, thank you again. JT, thank you for taking time out to be here. Colonel, thank you for what you do for effort in highway safety. And men and women in law enforcement, fellow officers, thank what y'all do every single day. Chief, what your office does every day, single day, that makes a difference in lives in Louisiana. I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you.
Real excited about this year is we've got the largest number of law enforcement agencies involved this year, which totals up to 127 agencies. A lot of these are funded by highway safety grants for overtime. Some are not, but it's the largest number. So we're looking at an increase in occupant protection citations being issued with the hopes that that's going to drive down some fatal and serious injury rates.
Are there any particular groups of drivers that are less likely to wear their seatbelts?
Yes, they are. Young drivers, males, particularly ones in pickup trucks. And we like to encourage that group to buckle up for their own safety, you know, because it's the law and it's also the safest thing that you can do.
What's your reaction to everything you've seen here today?
Well, I'm very pleased with the participation. I hope that the increased agencies involved will help drive those rates down and save some lives.
Louisiana is at 77% or 78% belt use rate, which is good. The national average is 84, but there's some of the higher performing states are frankly in the mid to high 90s. So Louisiana has definitely made great strides over the years in getting their seatbelt rate use up, but clearly the goal is for us, to, frankly, nationwide to get to 100% belt use rate. That's the best thing we could do for traffic safety.
The states that are in the high 90s in terms of seatbelt use, how do they get there? What are they doing differently?
They have a thing called a primary belt law, which is what they have here in Louisiana, that every person is required to wear your seatbelt. And frankly, they have very vigorous enforcement, which is a key part of it. But also there's a cultural change, along with the high visibility campaigns like Click It or Ticket, the good law enforcement, the good laws, and law enforcement getting out there and really enforcing it. It takes in, and then it's a cultural thing, and then people just automatically just do it. And that's the thing we're trying to build long term. As the Colonel mentioned, it's not about giving out tickets. I don't care about the tickets. We spend a lot of money supporting law enforcement to get out there to enforce the law. But the reason why is we want people to wear their seatbelts. So if we get that cultural change, it's a win-win. People are safer. Society has fewer costs. We have fewer broken families. It's the best thing to do.
What's your reaction to what you've heard here today?
I'm just so excited to have 127 law enforcement agencies across the state of Louisiana participating in Click It or Ticket. It shows the commitment of the state of Louisiana and law enforcement leadership and the leadership of the entire state, putting the priority of making sure that people get home safe every single trip.
It's not about how many tickets we write. It's not about worrying about those types of things. I think the simple message is simply wear your seatbelt. I think life is about habits. And a habit when you get inside of a vehicle is before you put it in drive, before you put it in reverse, make sure your passengers are secure, make sure everybody's belted, make sure if you have small kids in there, they're in the proper child seat, and make sure you yourself are secure in your seat. Because if you've got to make a sudden stop, you've got to make a sudden turn, if something happens in front of you, that reaction time is going to become hindered because you're not going to be secure in your seat. So, for a police officer, and so many of them were here today, and so many are going to be 127 agencies in this campaign, they can all tell you they've gone to the scene of crashes. And they look at a car and they go, wow, how did somebody die? The car's and it's not mangled or anything, but a human life was ejected through the windshield, a small child thrown inside the car, somebody moved around inside the car, thrown out the window. It's you don't want to say the word senseless, but let me tell you something. One life is one too many. And I'm about trying to save one life at a time. So my message is simply wear your seatbelts. We have these federal dollars that come in. We're getting ready to start the 100 days of summer. So we know there's going to be a lot of people on the roads, more people inside the cars, more travel for families across this country. Gas prices come down a little bit. So all those things are factors of putting more people on our highway. If people could just wear their seatbelts, they can obey the traffic laws. Don't mix alcohol. All those things are factors, but they're also habits that we can control. And I think it's a simple message today. The safest thing you can do when you get inside of an automobile before you move is to make sure you and your passengers are properly belted. Let me tell you, we're going to write you a ticket because we've warned long enough. That's why it's called Click It or Ticket. That's what the campaign's called. And we're going to do our part as law enforcement. We're going to make sure that we do everything we can from a proactive role. But at the scene of a traffic stop, the active part of the role and the reactive is a traffic ticket. Let's not make that happen. Wear your seatbelt.
This is very positive. I mean, this is something that is about protecting the public safety and the public health. We know there's a tremendous, this is all about public safety, keeping people safe on the road, and them understanding that buckling up, the little things are always the things that can make a difference between life and death or life and serious injury. This has a tremendous public health impact in that we want to ensure that our residents are properly protected, they don't endure serious injury. This has serious consequences for them in terms of recovery, medical costs, their lost work, the impact on their loved ones, and the impact on our healthcare system. When we avoid making the right decisions on such small things like this can end up costing the state. Right now, 2010, it cost $989 million in medical costs and lost work time as a result of people not buckling up and either dying or enduring serious injury from car crashes. So this is absolutely critical, both from a public safety and a public health standpoint.
If people have questions like more information, what should they do?
Well, they can go to the highway safety website.